In all manner of locations across the world, mysteries are reported. Eerie whispers, ghostly encounters, strange lights in the sky. In some places, the happenings that are reported are even more sinister, with it being said that some locations have the power to make people descend into lunacy, disappear, never to be seen again, and, in the worst cases, end their existence altogether. While such claims are often reported as false, there are many people who assert that their experiences at these locations are true, and that their lives continue to be affected by their visits to what are considered to be some of the most dangerous paranormal locations on Earth. There are horrors lurking within the tropical paradise of Central America. On the area's largest island, Coiba, terror reigned for decades, with a penal colony being established there by Panama in 1919. As the century progressed, the prison gained notoriety. Under back-to-back military dictatorships which lasted from 1969 to 1990, the island prison reached its zenith of horror. Horrific executions, brutal torture, and terrible living conditions greeted all who were forced onto the prison island. Political subversives and enemies of the state were sent to Coiba to be held at the government's pleasure. These unfortunate souls became known as Panamas disappeared. During this time, it is estimated that Coiba housed 3,000 inmates across 30 different camps spread over the island. Hundreds of lives were lost, with inmates either buried in unmarked graves or fed to the sharks that surrounded the coast. The full extent of the terror that reigned on that island may never be known. Once the dictatorships ended, the island's era of horror also came to an end. Although the island was still used as a prison, conditions were better. Coiba's terrible past, however, was still felt, with both inmates and guards claiming to be haunted by the tortured souls who once lived and suffered there. These spirits were seen and felt across the island. One spirit, supposedly encountered on multiple occasions, was that of a guard who haunted the cells and was heard dragging his baton across the bars. In another story, a guard at the prison claimed to have chased a runaway prisoner, only to find out that the figure was a spectre. The guard is said to have seen such monstrous horrors on the spirit's face that it afterwards haunted his every thought, until he could endure the sight no longer and found a cure to his curse inside the barrel of a pistol. In 2004, the prison was shut down and the island became a nature reserve. Walls have crumbled as the jungle has been allowed to advance and wrap itself around the prison's now abandoned structures. Coiba's dark secrets, however, seem to refuse to be buried, with blood-curdling screams, doors slamming open and shut, mysterious voices and haunting footsteps still reported by visitors to the island. A highly active paranormal location, many who have visited this piece of paradise are left marked by the experience. In 421 AD, people first began to inhabit the island of Poveglia, located off the coast of Venice, as they ran away from barbarian invasions. The population grew and, over time, became more important to Venice until 1329, when war forced the population to leave the island. The significance of the island was afterwards severely diminished, until Venice built a fort on it in the 17th century. In the 18th century, the island was given over to the Public Health Office, at which point it became a checkpoint for incoming ships. When 2 ships arrived full of plague in 1793, the island was turned into a quarantine zone for the infected. Rampant and out of control, the disease caused more than 160,000 people to die on the island's soil. Today, it is reported that up to 50% of Poveglia's soil is composed of human remains. It is here that its grisly reputation was born, and the island began to be known as the Island of Death. In 1814, it stopped being a plague pit, but its notoriety did not end. In 1923, an asylum was built on the island. Within the asylum, there worked a particularly nefarious doctor who was known to have performed many crude lobotomies. He is said to have jumped off a bell tower in the 1930s, having been driven mad by ghosts. In the 1960s, the facilities closed and the island was once again destitute. It has since gained a dark reputation for being infested with spirits, so much so that the government has made it illegal to visit. Regardless, in 2016, 5 people from Colorado dared to trespass and spend the night on Povea. After darkness fell, they were found screaming by the coast, yelling for help from a nearby sailboat. According to their testimonies, when night fell, a malevolent presence started stalking them, haunting and terrifying them so much they became frantic to leave the island. The soil of this island has witnessed much tragedy, far more than is usual for such a small space. It may well be that something dark was born from it, and that it is now even dangerous to visit, especially when one considers the vast number of human remains atop the island. Death comes on wings to him who enters the tomb of a pharaoh. Such is an old and oft ignored Arabian proverb. This could be said to be especially so in the case of one of the most famous archaeological discoveries of all time, that of Tutankhamun's tomb. In 1922, Howard Carter discovered a tomb in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. Wonderful things, he said, lay inside the unblemished tomb, artifacts that would forever enrich our culture and understanding of the ancient world. Very soon after the discovery, Carter's partner in the expedition, Lord Carnarvon, died of an infected mosquito bite. It was claimed that the mummified body of the boy pharaoh had a blemish on his left cheek, and that this mark matched Carnarvon's mosquito bite. A tragic coincidence. Yet, within 10 years, 20 people connected with the discovery had died, some of dreadful, unnatural causes. Even beyond this first decade, strange happenings were said to be connected to Tutankhamun's tomb. In 1966, Egypt's Director of Antiquities was ordered to arrange an exhibition of the Boy King's treasures in Paris. He argued vehemently against the decision, dreaming that something terrible would happen to him if he let the treasures leave Egypt. After the last meeting, during which it was decided that the treasures would indeed leave the country, the director walked out onto the street and was hit by a car. Many believed that his soul had been claimed by the pharaoh's curse. Despite these tragedies, the curse of Tutankhamun's tomb is a controversial subject, with there being much to suggest that it was merely coincidence that people died when they did. After all, Howard Carter, the leader of the expedition and arguably the prime target for the mummy's curse, did not die until over a decade after the tomb's discovery. There in fact is not even a written inscription of a curse on the Boy King's tomb, except for some vague allusions inscribed on a bracelet. Many therefore claim that the mummy's curse was a fabrication, propagated by sensationalist-driven media outlets, with Carter himself even fanning the flames to drive people away and keep the tomb safe. Yet there are some remarkable coincidences that leave one pondering whether there is any truth to the mummy's curse. The American financier of the expedition, George J. Gold, visited the tomb in 1923 and soon afterwards died of pneumonia. Sir Bruce Ingham, who received a paperweight from Carter made from a mummy's hand, lost his house in a mysterious fire. A member of Carter's excavation team was said to have died of arsenic poisoning, and Carter's secretary met their end under suspicious circumstances, the victim of a suspected smothering. So, should one be wary of a visit to the Boy King's tomb? I shall let you draw your own conclusion. Nature has its fair share of secrets. The world may be mapped out, but it has not been completely uncovered. Within China, there lies a 180-kilometer area known as the Black Bamboo Valley. Within it, it is whispered, lies something truly terrifying. Tragedy has been a constant within the valley. In 1976, 3 prospectors disappeared there, their bodies later being found with an indeterminate cause of death. Of course, one mysterious happening by itself can be written off as an unfortunate but rare incident. It is when many are compounded together that they become something else. In 1995, 2 soldiers disappeared, and again in 2014, 3 hikers went missing whilst in the valley. Some reports even suggest that in 1950 alone, over 100 people vanished in the Black Bamboo Valley. The valley now has such a reputation that it is popularly known as China's Bermuda Triangle. So why have so many people gone missing in this place? In 1949, it is claimed that 3 scouts from the People's Republic of China entered the valley to locate some 30 enemy soldiers who had disappeared within its midst. They did not find the enemy soldiers. In fact, only 1 scout returned. He described being overcome by a mysterious energy whilst in the valley, which made him feel dizzy and disoriented. This led him to become separated from his comrades who he never saw again. If this account is true, then it suggests that something strange is happening within the valley. Both rational and paranormal explanations have been put forward. On the rational side, some speculate that due to the unexplored nature of the valley, there might be unknown poisonous organisms there that either cause people to hallucinate or die. This may be something like an enormous poisonous fungus growing on the forest floor, unwittingly harming those who walk on top of it. A giant fungus encompassing a large area of forest floor is not merely something that exists in science fiction. In Oregon's Blue Mountains, there is a giant mycelinia that covers a massive 965 hectares of forest floor, making it the largest known organism on Earth. Other theories include accusing the dense fog seen in the valley as having an unknown poisonous quality, and that there are sinkholes that suddenly appear and swallow people. Reports of a mysterious energy in the forest, similar to the one described by the scout in 1949, have led others to consider more supernatural causes. Alien abductions, with extraterrestrials benefiting from the valley's eerie fog and secluded location, is one such explanation. Powerful magnetic forces caused by the valley's shared line of latitude with other mysterious locations, including the Egyptian pyramids, may also hold the answer. There is even a suggestion that a malevolent cryptid may reside in the valley, with a report from 1974 describing a farmer's encounter with a 2-meter tall, yellow-furred ape man. With the valley still largely unexplored, it doesn't seem like any verifiable answers are in sight. Even the local Yi people, who have lived in the area for generations, dare not venture too deep into the valley for fear of joining its dead. Before I discuss our final dangerous paranormal location, I'd like to take a moment to mention In Search of the Dead, my 2-hour documentary on life after death. In it, I visit paranormal locations, including what is said to be the most haunted forest in the world, Romania's Hoia Baciu. The film also features my interviews with renowned academics, authors, and paranormal investigators, which makes for 2 hours of thought-provoking discussion and exploration, as I question not only whether or not it is possible for our consciousness to survive physical death, but also if we are able to communicate with those who are now beyond the grave. I am very happy to say that In Search of the Dead was recently selected to be included in an international film festival, so if you haven't yet seen it and you love the paranormal, it's certainly something you don't want to miss. Please consider clicking the card on screen now to watch the trailer, or check the description box below to see where to rent or purchase the documentary. Members of my Quill and Ink Society are also able to stream In Search of the Dead. Hit the join button next to my subscription box or visit my Patreon page to check out the different membership options and the other benefits you can get access to. Full links and further details are all in the description. Thank you. Between the years 1945 and 1950, a small area of southwestern Vermont was plagued by a rash of mysterious disappearances. In 1992, the New England author and folklorist James A. Citro referred to the area where the vanishings occurred as the Bennington Triangle. On the 12th of November 1945, what is thought to be the first disappearance occurred. Middy Rivers, a 74-year-old seasoned hunter, vanished whilst leading a group of men up the mountains. He was experienced and knew the area well, and the investigation into his disappearance yielded nothing but a single rifle cartridge. Middy's disappearance occurred in the Long Trail Road area, as did the vanishing of Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old student who was last seen a year later, in December 1946. Despite an FBI investigation and a $5,000 reward, she was never found. One of the only leads came from an elderly couple who claimed to have seen her on the trail. They were about 100 yards behind her and saw her turn a corner. When they arrived at the corner, they claimed she had disappeared. In 1949, James Tedford, a veteran, disappeared in the middle of a bus ride heading to Bennington. The following year, Paul Jeffson, an 8-year-old boy, also disappeared in the area. 2 weeks after that, Frida Langer went missing whilst hiking with her friend. The Connecticut Coast Guard, the Massachusetts National Guard, local citizens, and even the US Army, a combined force of around 400 people, meticulously searched the entire area for Langer and, initially, found nothing. 6 months later, her body was discovered in an area that had been extensively searched before. Her cause of death could not be determined because of the condition of her remains. These disappearances have hence given the place a sinister aura. Unsatisfied by scant earthly explanations, some have looked to supernatural ones for the disappearances within the Bennington Triangle. One theory alludes to the existence of an aggressive Bigfoot creature. However, given the proximity that some of these disappearances happened to other people, one of whom was on a bus when he went missing, this explanation is hard to believe. Other explanations include extraterrestrial interference, with people having reported strange lights in the sky above the area, a possibility, perhaps, but near impossible to prove. Then there is the view that there is something mystical and perhaps even dangerous about the mountains in the area. Of course, those looking for more rational explanations see the disappearances as the handiwork of a malevolent individual active in Bennington at the time, and there is some evidence for this claim. When the bloodhounds were searching for Paul Jeffson, the trail grew cold at a highway, indicating that he might have been taken in a car. Also, Frida Langer's body was found at a place investigators had already searched, suggesting she had been moved there by someone involved. Yet, even then, this explanation can be described just as reductionist as other theories. The evidence is scant, and the only thing that makes this theory more believable than the others is that we all agree that evil people exist. As such, the mystery of the Bennington Triangle remains unsolved, and to this day strange reports are made by people who have explored the area. Reports of drastic and spontaneous weather changes that no one outside the mountain notices, and also of space altering as one walks, make the area seem otherworldly and eerie, and quite possibly an easy place to get lost, perhaps even forever. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you have subscribed for more of the paranormal. And as YouTube is discontinuing email notifications, you might like to sign up to our newsletter over on our website, paranormalscholar.com. We send emails straight to your inbox each time we release a new video. And if you cannot wait until our next upload, why not consider watching the video suggested on screen now? Until next time.